Yeah, it was, I guess, the perfect send-off for him. If we didn't have it, it would have been a very different story. Very different story. It would have been just at home, on that ventilator, afraid to go anywhere.
Can you introduce yourself and your child's wish? So I'm Maria, and my daughter is Ellie, and her wish was to have a winter wonderland at home. So she wanted to have the house all decorated outside and inside, a bit like the houses that we used to see on our little trips during Christmas time, because we used to all go in the car to have a look at all the decorated houses. And it had always been her thing that she wanted our house to be like that. So that was her wish. So Ellie was really, really kind. That always sticks in my mind. She was one of those children who, so she was 15 when she was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. And she was more concerned about worrying other people because she really felt for others. She was someone who just wanted to spread joy everywhere. She loved being outdoors. She loved art. That was one of the things that got her through when she was going through her treatment. And she went through so much because she had nearly 3 years of treatment. I just always remember as this kind of like this beacon of light who she touched so many people, but I don't think she ever realised it. And so she always had this hope and light, and that's something I'll never forget. And I just think it's almost like she's left this amazing legacy of just strength, and that's radiated out to like my son and myself. And it's, she was an incredible girl.
So Hannah was 11, just transitioning from primary school to secondary school when she got a diagnosis of cancer. This was in the August, and we had a specialist appointment and she had an MRI. And then it was the day after that they said that it was a malignant tumour, rhabdomyosarcoma, so soft tissue cancer. And obviously, all of a sudden, that one day is like your world is just turned upside down. It's like, what do you do? How do you cope? So she started on treatment the very next day. And that was 6 months of really harsh treatment. And her wish was actually to meet the cast of Coronation Street, which surprised us somewhat as a 12-year-old girl as she was then. So that's what we got to do. So we got to visit the cast of this, actually on the set. And they even got to be filmed. Her and her older brother got to be extras on the set. Hannah was a very outdoors girl. She loved nature, absolutely loved nature and wildlife, and any little insect, anything. And she was very bubbly and also very caring. She was always thinking of others. And I think one of the reasons why she chose her wish of meeting the cast of Coronation Street was because her older brother was very much into Coronation Street. And also she wanted something that involved the whole family. I think the things that I remember most about Hannah, apart from, the photographs and seeing her smile, she was always smiling. Even through majority of her treatment, she was always smiling. I don't know how, I really don't. Experiencing some of what she went through, I don't know how she did. And I think because of that, she remains an inspiration to me.
So yes, I'm Serena. My son, we called him Jam Jam, although his official name was Jemiah Lee. And he was born with a rare chromosome disorder, and it was a life-limiting condition. And he loved music. He was also blind, but he did have hearing. And he also loved the outdoors. And so, because he was non-verbal and he couldn't articulate his own wish, we just looked at the things that he really enjoyed, and we chose for him to spend some time with us as a family at Centre Parks. And it was an incredible experience. We were there for 3 nights, and at that point, he had significantly declined, but we were determined to give him this. And actually, for those 3 days, it was the best his SATs had ever been, the best his heart rate had ever been. And so we were able to take him outside. He was able to spend time in the fresh air. It was crazy running back and forth to get tanks of oxygen, but we did it. And then he passed away the following Wednesday, just a week after his wish. He was very unique, had 6 fingers, 6 toes, duplex kidney. He was gorgeous. He just loved life. And it does make you really reflect, because he went through so much. He had significant apneas as well. He was just so inspirational to so many people, because he laughed, he smiled, he enjoyed so much. Like, I look at photos of him and see him smiling so much, and it's just incredible considering all that he went through. And it really does help me. So when I'm going through things, I remember him, and I'll always remind myself, like, Jam Jam I can do. Like, he did it, I can do it too. Yeah, he still remains a big motivation to me as well.
I think it's a good way to remember our children, isn't it? Is that they're always going to be there. So it's, having that inspiration, that motivation to keep going and to do what you need to do.
I think we had contacted Make-A-Wish maybe about a year before the wish was actually granted. And one of the reasons it took so long is because my son had become quite unwell. So June the 19th, which was Father's Day 2022, he had quite a significant seizure. And so he was rushed into hospital, and we were actually in the process of having our wish, like discussing the wish and everything at that time. And for obvious reasons, it was delayed because he was in hospital. And I actually thought that maybe in a few weeks he'd be out. But he ended up being in intensive care for 7 months. He was intubated for 70 days. And he was then moved onto the main ward after 7 months, where he stayed for a further 3.5 months. And so it was a total of about 10 months in total that we were in hospital. And at that point, we had been told that he was now ventilator dependent. There was nothing more that could be done for him, and he was end of life care only. But his wish, we had the most amazing wish organizer, and nothing was too much for her. It was a lot of organising. The local hospital had to be made aware. Everyone at Centre Parks was aware. I remember when we walked in, like literally everyone knew who we were. We had to have all his end-of-life medications. There were considerations like, what if he died on the way there? What if he died whilst we were there? What if he died on the way back? Every little thing was covered. Every single avenue was covered, and we had a plan. And I don't know how she did it, but there was a lot of liaison with our palliative care team. Like, they literally thought we were crazy. They were initially not very supportive of it. It was like, are you sure this is what you want? This is huge to travel with somebody in his condition at this stage. But we were so determined. And just like being in that ambulance, because we had to travel by ambulance. Like, I was watching the oxygen go down. The paramedics were getting a little concerned as it was getting lower and lower. But just seeing his oxygen saturations just literally rise on the journey, it was insane. And we were recording and posting and sending to family and friends and sending to the consultants and the palliative care team. And just everything was taken care of when we arrived. And I often think back, like, if we hadn't gone through with the wish, if we had perhaps listened to some of the advice given and the warnings, and if we weren't bold and brave enough to go through with it, I don't know what our memories would be like now. I can look back at that time, a week before he died, knowing that he wasn't stuck in a hospital ward. He wasn't just stuck in the bed at home. He was out in the fresh air. He was in restaurants. He was around his family, his friends, the ice cream parlour. And we can look back at that with real fondness. And so for us, it was an incredible experience. And our wish organiser was just phenomenal in every way possible. If we didn't have it, it would have been a very different story. Very different story. Yeah, this gave us memories that we cherish and will cherish forever.
I was actually involved with Make-A-Wish before Hannah's wish, ironically, because I'd come up to a milestone birthday and I thought I'll mark it by doing something silly, like jumping out of an aeroplane. And I thought, if I'm going to do that, let's raise some money. And I had heard of Make-A-Wish, and I looked into it and I thought, I like the idea that any money that I raise, what it's actually going to, you can almost see where the money is going. So I did the skydive, and then thought afterwards that I'd become a volunteer. I mean, one of the important roles of being a volunteer is, as you said, is you visit the families to find out what their wish or what their child's wish is, which can be quite emotional. There are a number that stick in my mind, visiting families where you're talking to the parents, and a lot of them are in the situation where they know their child obviously has a critical illness, but it's likely to be terminal. Obviously you're there to do that role and try and get through. So, and then it's afterwards that you think, wow, how do they do it as a parent, and how do you cope with that? At the time, I didn't really think about the fact that Hannah was eligible for a wish herself then, because we had so much to deal with. So it was actually the following year in the summer. She'd come to the end of her initial treatment, and she was on maintenance chemotherapy. So it was a lot lower dosage. So her hair started to grow back. So she's in a much better place. And we thought, so this is maybe the time now to think about applying for a wish. And obviously, I was already involved with Make-A-Wish, and I'd gone through it all myself, but I still had to go through exactly the same process, which is really surreal, going through and applying, and obviously putting your own child's name on the form. When before I'd seen the forms and documents, and it had always been somebody else's child. Then to see your own child's name there, it's like really strange. So she actually surprised us when she came up with, I want to meet the cast of Coronation Street. Right, okay. Not quite what I was expecting a 12-year-old girl to come up with. For us, it was that couple of days where we just could forget about that new normal life that we were in. So we didn't have to worry about going to hospital, any treatments, any scans or anything like that. We could just be a family again for just a couple of days. It's something we couldn't have organised. There's no way we could have put together what Make-A-Wish did. So that's one of the key things. So, if we hadn't had that wish, we wouldn't have those amazing memories, because we couldn't have arranged what Make-A-Wish did. Although we didn't know it at the time, that those memories that we were making and those photographs that we were having taken were going to play such an important role in our memories. It was a really special time for us. We actually had the wish in the November, and then to let us know that the episode was going to be aired in January. So it was actually exactly 4 weeks after Christmas, which we'd had a a reasonably normal Christmas, what we thought was normal, because she was doing quite well. So it's exactly 4 weeks after Christmas that the episode aired that had them in it. But it was also the day that they phoned us and said that she'd relapsed, and that she had to go back into treatment again. So, yeah, at the time, we hadn't realised that, the Christmas coming up was going to be her last Christmas.
Ellie was very indecisive, so it would take her a long time to decide on what she wanted to do. And she initially came up with a different idea to what we actually did. So she decided she wanted to have a bedroom makeover. And then it took her about a month to decide on what kind of bed she wanted. Literally, it went on and on and on. Make-A-Wish were brilliant, but then COVID struck, and it was everything, as you know, was kind of up in the air. Make-A-Wish got in touch again, and they were like, right, shall we make this bedroom wish come true? Now, at that point, Ellie had then been told that treatment was going to stop. And I always remember in the back of my mind, and I thinking about it now, I think it was probably in the back of her mind, we were both thinking that plan was almost, that idea of that wish was a bit different. It was in a slightly different time. We always thought Ellie would recover, and the idea was she was going to have this amazing bedroom where she could sit and do her studies, like all her art. It was a really big thing. I think she wanted a wall where she could have all her art and she could do all this stuff. But also by that point, she was very weak and she couldn't draw, she couldn't do painting and stuff. She then said she would rather may have a wish that, again, everyone could be part of. She just went, why don't I do a Christmas wish? Like when they were babies, we would go out and look at Christmas lights, and I'd always promise them one day we'll do it. I remember I contacted Make-A-Wish because we'd already gone, I felt like we'd gone quite far with this other idea. And I was like, I'm really sorry, can we change our mind? And they were brilliant. They were like, yep. And actually it was probably the best thing that could have happened. It just gave us this amazing, amazing last Christmas. And I think about the house, it was like a beacon. People could see it from everywhere. It was just amazing, incredible. Yeah, Ellie died just literally straight. Our wish kind of extended because it was our house was decorated for Christmas. So, yeah, she died literally after we switched the lights off. But at that point, we'd actually gone to a hospice. So we came back home for the last time. We didn't know, had no idea that was the last time. We thought we were going to come back home because she was uncomfortable by that point. I just think there wouldn't have been that something for her to just think to kind of make her feel good. So, she could look out, she could sit in the living room and we had this giant tree, and it was like nothing we'd ever had at home before. So although she was going through the end of her life, it was almost like it took that away, because she was just thinking about this great time she was having, instead of worrying about the fact that she was in a wheelchair or she was uncomfortable. It's just left incredible memories, which just came at the perfect moment as well. And it means that at Christmas, when I now walk past all the big decorated houses, I think of Ellie, and I always will.